Oh, we got an audience here. Okay. Camera looks crooked. I'm Excelsior the Lion, and as portrayed by Randolph Garrett, and I had the idea that instead of typing and putting it on the web, well, actually not instead of, I may put them back on there anyway, on the websites, these wonderful stories that I have. And I already have done one about my discovering the furry concept. So this is, I think I might be doing a 2-for-1 of what happened last June and making a fursuit on a budget. Or as the title of the seminar panel might be in a future convention, how to make a fursuit on a I can't even afford a shoestring budget, you know. Believe me, that's nothing short of a miracle. And yet, part of what it's about is the bottom line. You can do it. You can make your own fursuit. Maybe a partial, or maybe a full. The only thing that's holding you back is yourself. Now, I originally discovered furries back in April of 2010 and really had not seen much of any of it at all before that. A couple little pieces, but I had no idea. So I was on email lists and so forth, and the usual, oh gee, I wish I could be doing that. Oh, look at those gorgeous fursuits, and look at them having so much fun. I was so jealous. I was really, really jealous, because I just didn't have the money to have a commission done, which is more or less fairly standard, because you want somebody to do it that knows how to make them and do a good job, and a lot of them out there. So mid-June of 2011, the jealousy was building to what might be called a crescendo, and on June 22nd I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to make my own goddamn fursuit, and that's it. There's no more of this, oh, jealous stuff. So I put my foot down and I started taking action. I'm just going to do it. However I could. Scrounging, scraps and all that, I'm very good at that. So I started to learn about how to make fursuits, starting with the head, and tried to make the plastic frame design in general. But it points out that false start. It was a false start because I didn't go with it. Sort of illustrates the point of you want to keep it simple. Don't try to go anything complicated, difficult, hard, or whatever, because that first fursuit head would have turned out to be very difficult. How I know how to do things now, maybe a lot easier, but then very difficult, very limited on tools and supplies. So it would have been just like my model railroading kits of old. It would just sat in the closet and forgotten about. I would have just given up. That's why you keep it simple, especially your first one. Don't give a dang about how it looks. Just do it. Give it a try. So I started, and I started to arrange to buy some fur and some other materials. And on July 1st, I got the money and bought some and got work started. But up until that point, I was sure I could not sew anything together. I could not make any of those sort of things. I mean, I could make wood craft, metal craft, maybe even in plastic, you know, like models. Maybe could have done a plastic head frame. but I was sure, sewing and just any part up until that point, but I just had to have a fursuit, so I was determined. I then, with the materials, started work on it, but on a different head design, this one, which is very unusual. It's kind of like a large dome, made out of strips of an unusual industrial foam. So maybe layers going this way, but it's still just a shell. So I started working with that, and I had to work with the materials that I had, and the fur that I had is the stuff you see towards the front here in front of the mane. And not quite the right color, but it's what I had to work with. So I got started on it and started making, I jumped a step here. Now, what illustrates the point of how I crossed the barrier from, gee, I can't do it, which everybody says, to, you mean I can? Wow! This was the second thing that I worked on. The first was my everyday tail. I left it in my bedroom, so I don't have the prop to show you. Is my everyday tail, a lion's tail, but very basic, just a tube, and 2 different furs. That's it. Stuffed. Piece of cake. I was sure I could do it. And I did. I made that tail, and to date I'm still wearing it. I've only had to do minor fixes. Me! I made it. I was astonished. There was no way in hell I could have, I thought that I could have created things like that. Clothing or fursuits or anything of that sort. And wow! It was incredible. And again, very little money, so I was not able to have commissions done or buy high quality fur or professional stuff. It was scrounging and bits and pieces and so forth like that. Doing what I can with unusual materials. I think the straps, the elastic straps for the belt strap part is from a, oh no, okay, I remember now. Other projects were using the other elastic. This one was using the elastic from a broken pair of goggles, and it has the elastic strap, and so I used that, cut it up, and sewn it on as the belt loop for putting the tail to hang from my belt. And at first I was very reluctant to wear the tail. It's very unusual. It's difficult to get used to the concept, but I made the tail. And then just a very few days later, just before going to a picnic, which would be the second potluck picnic by Leo, which would be the second, actually technically third furry event I went to. There was furries hiking up in my backyard here practically at Black Diamond Mines. So that was some months before, but July, the first Tuesday in July was the Berkeley meet. First time I really got a chance to meet fellow furries for real and start talking about it. And then I made the tail on July 4th. I think it was July 6th was the potluck picnic, and just furries, no fursuits. And that morning, while anxiously waiting for it to go at the right time, because it was an afternoon thing that morning, I thought, okay, I'm going to try to do some art, because again, like I saw, I was sure I could not. All my hand-drawn art of all types looked horrible, disfigured, distorted, ugly. Just could not get it to come out right. I never had formal art lessons. It was just basically arts and crafts in junior college. And so okay, I'll do some sketching and blah blah blah. Give it some try, just pencil sketching. As you keep trying and practice and see if you can start to learn it. And I found a very simplified abstract line art that is very close to what graphic artists do for corporations as corporate emblems and stuff like that. But this was more detailed and different still. And so I started doing it. Now it really, sounds like sort of a cheat. Here would be this picture off the internet of a lion, and I would then on a piece of paper try to find lines that represent what a lion would look like. So the first one I did, a few good simple lines, and got it done, and I looked at it and I went, whoa. I drew that? Woo! I did another one. Oh my God, and it was different looking, a different expression. Oh my God, and another and another. I couldn't believe what I was doing. I could barely look at them because it was astonishing. That came out of my hands. I drew that. First the tail, and now art. And so then I went to the picnic in the afternoon, and then okay, maybe the art thing was a fluke. Next day, tried again. Another one came out. Looks great compared to stuff I've done before. And these I could have professionalized and made them presentable to sell because they actually were decent. One of these days I'll get around to it. But I was so distracted during July. So I had confidence, a real confidence, and continued to be determined to make the fursuit. So about that time, I think I was starting to work on the head. I'm not sure. Then in time, after the shell was the original had fallen apart, so I re-glued it back together, trying to get a better shape out of it and so forth to my satisfaction, and had it furred. I had put fur on it and used a shaver as suggested to cut it short for the muzzle and around the face, kind of following what the lion images look like, and that was one of my mistakes. The whole thing was learning about it and what you do, and the basic principle is just keep it simple. You try to duplicate the real thing, it's expensive, difficult, hard, and so forth. It takes a professional to do realistic. Our fursuits are fantasy, made up, imaginary, just so different. Just a character, still an animal, but a cartoony-ish sort of style, for lack of a better way to put it. You know, it's just a character style. Not accurate, not a school mascot, not a Halloween costume, although some would qualify as that too if you wanted to do into scary stuff. But it was all fun and play, most of them smile and stuff like that. And the idea was to keep it simple, and those were, a lot of them were made more simple. They may have looked beautiful, but their design was not complicated, ultra-realistic, or other such thing. It was, the more simple the better, and you could see that in some of the makers, the lesser makers, that what they did was really simplify, a simplified way of doing a fursuit. And that's the idea, just keep that in mind. Is there a simpler, easier way to do it? So I got the head furred using hot glue, and it was mostly scraps, so it was sitting there, I was gluing scraps on and so forth like that. But it was one solid color. And I went to the Furries in the Wild picnic, my first fursuit event. Nervous as all get out, just nervous. I'll get to that picnic. I think I don't know. I don't remember. Oh, okay, that's another story. I think that's another story. Trying to stay with fursuit construction, the discovery-ish part as much as anything. And this is not a how-to, but this is an inspiration. and very little money. I was spending grocery money. I was practically starving. I got whatever free food I could, but I was just practically starving. I needed to lose weight anyway. Started out at 400 pounds, and now I'm 320. 6 months, actually a whole year. The first few months it was so slow, and then after the Fursuit, I was having so much fun and enjoying so much I wasn't hungry. Weight dropped like a rock. Not deadly dangerous, thank God, but close. But it was great. And so I continued working on the Fursuit head at that picnic. Unfortunately, it was still a work in progress. So with these ears, but no mane, it did not look like a lion. It looked like a bear. I did not want to do a bear. I wanted to do a lion. You keep making changes, and you can adding things and so forth. It helps turn it into looking like a lion. You know, some details, the lip design and the nose, whiskers, whatever. And so the Furries in the Wild was just a test drive for the head. At that point I had the tail done and the head with ears kind of done, no eyes, so there was big open holes, and the gloves, which I was having a lot of problems with, but I still had gloves. So wearing, and I did do the first set of foot paws. Very hinky design, really ugly, but I lean towards practical. Again, that makes it more complicated. Simple means just some big floppy piece of foam, sort of a thing, instead of trying to make it so it walks comfortably. So I had those foot paws, but I didn't have anything on the sole to protect them, and I was told by one of the guys, because this was out in the grass and so forth, picnic area, don't wear them out there. The grass, the rocks and stuff in the grass will tear up the foam that's exposed and all that, so I didn't wear them, but still I had gloves, tail, and tried out the head for a test drive. I was sure with the poor vision that these Fursuit heads have, I'd be tripping all over everything, and it was a hazard course. Limbs all over, and changes in elevation, stuff like that. No problem. Wow. That was neat. And so I was really getting confident. So back home, and time kept working on it more and more, also doing art, and I just couldn't believe all these things that were happening. And that I could do things. I could make my own Fursuit. I just kept going and going. Then came August 1st, and I have what's called a mirror anxiety. I hate seeing myself in the mirror because I've been told how fat, ugly, and stupid looking I am by a lot of people, my mother mainly, even myself perpetuating it. So I wanted to do a full body Fursuit. I was very envious of all those other Fursuits, so I wanted to try to get something in that direction. Made a deal for some fur, but it fell through. But then on August 1st, made a beeline to Discount Fabrics in Berkeley. See what they had. And what they had was two that I could use. Was this dark brown for the mane, and this Davos, as it's called, which is semi-furry, fresh out from the manufacturer, but it pills up and looks more like fleece to most people. It's got a backing just like fur, but it's got a few advantages I may say later on. Oh, I don't want to get into that. I wouldn't say that you should go with it. You make your choices. Make your own choices. What do you want to do? What materials you'd like to use? Keep in mind, keep it simple. Learn from others. Ask questions. And I continued researching, and so then I went to start to make the body. And started sewing that together. But at that time I still did not have a working sewing machine, so everything's hand-stitched. So I shouldn't say sewing, I should say stitched, but whatever. And so through August, it was all coming together, and started new foot paws and so forth. I can't remember what date what. But the bottom line was, I started out, no, I can't sew a thing, I can't make a fursuit, blah, 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 blah. Determined to try, I tried, I did, I have a fursuit. And on a budget where there really wasn't any money, but just staying home and rotting and dying was not my thing. Get out and live. That gets things in life started, and mine really started to roll. That was a very intense July. So now in August, full fursuit. Kept adjusting the fit because I had to make my own patterns. I really didn't have the money to buy. When you can make it yourself, don't buy. Sure, you get better if you bought it. The patterns don't go to my size, and I would have still distorted them, but continue to make adjustments. So there's these seams all over the place as I adjust to make it a good, comfy fit. Definitely very comfortable. Very comfortable. I still wouldn't mind sacrificing a little comfort to have a more furrier body, and I will be pretty soon, I hope. But still, you know, so keep an eye out for discount materials that are on sale. Never buy at full price, and wait for it to really get down low in price, and compromise. Don't go for the $22, $25, $30, $35 yard furs. You get better results, but when you're doing your first one, just keep it cheap and simple. Keep it simple, basics. And so you can look at $8 or $9 a yard, and like on the second fursuit, it was just before Halloween. They had some really great sales going on at a craft store, and got those furs, which were actually furry, and they're maybe very low quality, but they did it. So had the timing been that it was October instead of July or August, I could have gotten furrier material, but it doesn't matter. I did it. I made my own teeth out of what's called FIMO, F-I-M-O, which is modeling clay, bake it in the oven, and you got hard stuff, and so forth. And a lot of this is what I might call version 2, but you know, the head was substantially reworked many times to get it better and better. I was having a devil of a time with the eyes, but you keep reading. There's all these websites with all these ideas and YouTube videos and so forth on how to do it. And so eventually I saw a style, and I do emphasize visions, so I went with high vision, easy to see through, very